John, Mary, and their two children, 10-year-old Billy and 8-year-old Susie, were excited. They were finally taking their long-awaited road trip to Yellowstone National Park. They packed their SUV, a sturdy blue Ford Explorer with camping gear, snacks, and dreams of adventure. John, a seasoned driver, confidently took the wheel, while Mary navigated. Billy and Susie, armed with their favorite comic books and toys, chattered excitedly in the back seat. The sun was shining, the music was playing, and the road stretched out before them, promising an unforgettable journey. As they drove, the landscape began to change. Towering trees lined the highway, their branches intertwining overhead, creating a tunnel of green. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth. The children gazed out the windows, their eyes wide with wonder at the unfamiliar sights and sounds of the deep woods. They passed occasional signs for small towns, their names painted in faded letters, places seemingly forgotten by time. John and Mary exchanged smiles, enjoying their children's enthusiasm and the sense of escape that only a road trip could provide. As dusk approached, casting long shadows across the winding road, they decided to stop for the night at a roadside motel. The Pine Rest Motel, its neon sign flickering erratically, was the only sign of civilization for miles. John pulled into the gravel parking lot, its emptiness adding to the growing sense of isolation. They checked into a musty room with 2 double beds and a flickering television set. After a simple meal of takeout burgers and fries, the family settled in for the night, the children's tired giggles gradually fading into peaceful slumber. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, an eerie lullaby to their dreams. John lay awake, listening to the wind and the creaking of the old motel. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. He glanced at his sleeping family, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of the bedside lamp, and tried to dismiss his unease. It was probably just the unfamiliar surroundings, he told himself, the isolation playing tricks on his mind. He closed his eyes, willing himself to sleep, but the unsettling feeling lingered, a silent harbinger of the nightmare that was to come. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the unsettling events of the previous night seemingly forgotten. The Richardsons packed up their belongings, eager to continue their journey. They stopped for a hearty breakfast at a diner a few miles down the road, their laughter and conversation filling the small, cozy space. The waitress, a friendly woman with a warm smile, refilled their coffee cups and wished them a safe journey. Back on the road, the miles flew by as they drove deeper into the heart of the wilderness. The sun was high in the sky, casting a warm glow on the dense forest that lined both sides of the highway. The children played games, their laughter echoing through the car, their earlier anxieties forgotten. John and Mary relaxed, enjoying the stunning scenery and the sense of adventure that permeated their journey. As they rounded a bend in the road, John slammed on the brakes, the SUV skidding to a halt. Standing in the middle of the road, a lone figure waved frantically, his face obscured by the glare of the sun. As they got closer, they could see that it was a park ranger, his expression grim. He approached their vehicle, his gaze serious. "Are you the Richardsons?" he asked, his voice gruff. John nodded, a sense of foreboding creeping into his heart. "There's been a situation," the ranger said, his words slow and deliberate. "We found your SUV abandoned a few miles up the road." John and Mary exchanged a look of disbelief and growing horror. "Abandoned? But that's impossible," John stammered, his mind racing. "We were just there. We just had breakfast at the diner." The ranger's expression remained unchanged. "That's what's strange, sir," he replied, his voice low and steady. The engine was cold, and there was no sign of any struggle. A chill ran down John's spine as he looked back at his children, their faces now pale with fear, reflecting the terror that was gripping his own heart. The Richardsons followed the ranger in stunned silence as he led them to their abandoned SUV. It was parked on the shoulder of the road, its doors flung open as if in haste. The children's belongings, comic books, a half-finished drawing of a unicorn, Susie's beloved teddy bear, were scattered on the back seat untouched. John's heart pounded against his ribs, each beat a deafening thud in the eerie quiet of the forest. The ranger, his face etched with concern, began to detail what they had found. The SUV was discovered by a pair of hikers who had noticed the vehicle parked haphazardly on the side of the road. The hikers, a young couple on vacation, had approached the vehicle cautiously, calling out to see if anyone needed assistance. When they received no response, they had peered inside, their apprehension growing when they saw the scattered belongings and the absence of any occupants. They immediately hiked back to the ranger station a few miles away to report their unsettling discovery. The ranger had arrived at the scene to find the SUV empty and unlocked. The engine was cold, indicating that the vehicle had been parked there for some time. There was no sign of a struggle, no indication of what might have happened to the missing family. The only clue, if it could be called that, was a single set of footprints leading away from the driver's side door and disappearing into the dense undergrowth that bordered the highway. The footprints, the ranger noted, were too large to belong to either of the children, and they did not match the boots he was wearing. John and Mary listened in growing horror as the ranger spoke, their minds struggling to grasp the reality of the situation. Their children, their precious children, were gone, vanished without a trace. The cheerful normalcy of their road trip, the laughter, the shared moments of joy, now seemed like a distant memory, a cruel trick of the mind. The dense forest that surrounded them, once a source of wonder and excitement, now seemed menacing, its dark depths concealing a terrible secret. News of the Richardson family's disappearance spread like wildfire through the small towns dotting the vast wilderness. The story, a chilling tale of a family vacation gone terribly wrong, gripped the locals, their imaginations running wild with speculation and dread. Search parties were organized, their ranks swelled by volunteers from neighboring towns, their faces grim with determination and a growing sense of despair. Days turned into weeks, and the weeks stretched into an agonizing month, but the search yielded no answers. The Richardsons had vanished without a trace, their disappearance as inexplicable as it was terrifying. The authorities, baffled by the lack of evidence, could offer no explanation, their investigation hampered by the remoteness of the location and the sheer strangeness of the case. The case of the missing Richardson family became a haunting mystery, its unanswered questions echoing through the dense forest where they were last seen. As time went on, and the initial shock began to fade, whispers began to circulate among the locals, whispers of strange occurrences in the area where the Richardsons had vanished. There were tales of a glowing fog that descended upon the highway late at night, its ethereal luminescence casting an eerie glow on the surrounding trees. Some claimed to have heard a whispery voice emanating from the fog, a voice that seemed to call out their names, drawing them closer to the dense undergrowth. One local, an old woman who lived in a dilapidated cabin on the outskirts of town, claimed that the forest had always been a place of mystery, a place where the veil between this world and the next was thin. She spoke of ancient spirits that roamed the woods, their motives unknown, their presence felt in the rustling of leaves and the eerie silence that descended upon the forest at dusk. Her words, dismissed by some as the ramblings of an old woman, held a chilling resonance for those who had known the Richardsons, their disappearance a stark reminder that some mysteries defied explanation. The lack of concrete evidence surrounding the Richardson family's disappearance fueled a firestorm of speculation and theories, some more outlandish than others. The case attracted the attention of national media, their cameras descending upon the small town, their microphones thrust into the faces of bewildered locals, eager for any scrap of information that might shed light on the mystery. The story, a chilling blend of fact and speculation, became a national obsession, its unanswered questions fueling endless debates on late-night talk shows and internet forums. Some whispered of alien abduction, pointing to the lack of struggle and the family's sudden disappearance as evidence of an extraterrestrial encounter. They cited the remoteness of the location, the dense forest canopy that could conceal a spacecraft, and the lack of any logical explanation as proof that the Richardsons had been taken, whisked away to some distant planet for purposes unknown. The theory, while far-fetched, resonated with some, the vastness of the universe and the mysteries it held offering a chillingly plausible explanation for the unexplainable. Others, their beliefs rooted in the supernatural, spoke of ancient entities that dwelled in the deep woods, beings of immense power and unknown motives. They whispered of portals to other dimensions, hidden within the dense undergrowth, gateways to realms beyond human comprehension. The Richardsons, they speculated, had stumbled upon one of these portals, their curiosity leading them through the veil and into a realm from which there was no return. The theory, while unsettling, held a certain allure, the unknown depths of the forest mirroring the unfathomable depths of the mystery itself. The theories, while varied and often contradictory, shared a common thread, the belief that something beyond human comprehension had taken the Richardsons. The lack of evidence, the sheer impossibility of their disappearance, had shattered the illusion of order and predictability that most people clung to. The case had exposed the raw, terrifying underbelly of reality, a reality where families could vanish without a trace, where the laws of nature seemed to bend and break, where the only certainty was uncertainty. Months after the Richardson family's disappearance, as hope began to dwindle and the case grew cold, a glimmer of something unexpected emerged from the vast digital ether. A local radio enthusiast, his workshop cluttered with wires, dials, and blinking lights, stumbled upon a faint, garbled transmission on a rarely used CB radio frequency. The voice, distorted and barely audible above the static, seemed to be that of a young boy, his words a chilling mixture of fear and confusion. "We're lost! Can anyone hear me?" The voice crackled through the speaker, its urgency cutting through the static. "We're in the fog. It's cold, and we can't find our way out." The transmission, brief and fragmented, ended abruptly, leaving the radio enthusiast shaken and deeply unsettled. He immediately contacted the authorities, his voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and dread as he relayed the chilling message. The authorities, while initially skeptical, were intrigued by the possibility that the transmission might be connected to the Richardson case. They analyzed the recording, their sophisticated equipment filtering out the static, amplifying the boy's voice. The voice, they confirmed, was indeed that of a young boy, his age and regional dialect consistent with Billy Richardson. The mention of the fog, a detail not widely publicized, sent chills down their spines. The discovery of the CB radio message, while offering a glimmer of hope, also deepened the mystery. Where had the transmission come from? How had Billy managed to access a CB radio? And what had he meant by the fog? The questions, like the eerie static that bookended the chilling transmission, remained unanswered, taunting reminders of the family's continued absence. The case of the missing Richardson family, once a local tragedy, had become a national enigma, its tendrils reaching out from the depths of the unknown, a stark reminder that some mysteries are destined to remain